Kali ini cerita datang dari pengalaman Mat Saleh asal Kanada yang pernah remehkan negara Malaysia. Karena sebelum datang ke negeri jiran itu, ia sudah berpikir bahwa Malaysia hanyalah negara berkembang yang sama dengan negara-negara berkembang lainnya. Ya mungkin ia berpikir tidak bisa berharap banyak dari pelayanan, fasilitas, infrastruktur dari negara Malaysia. Namun setelah ia datang dan menginjakkan kaki pertama kali di negara Malaysia, barulah ia sadar bahwa anggapan ia selama ini tentang Malaysia itu salah. Ternyata Malaysia tidak seperti yang ia pikirkan sebelumnya. Ia juga shock tentang banyak hal kecanggihan yang ia temukan di sana. Dan bagaimana ekspresinya melihat semua itu? Mari kita saksikan videonya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Halo guys, apa kabar Anda semua di sana? Tentunya aku sangat berharap semoga kita semua dalam keadaan baik-baik saja, dalam keadaan sehat selalu. Bukan hanya kita, bahkan seluruh keluarga kita dan semua orang yang kita sayangi, juga orang yang ada di sekitar kita. Semoga juga dalam keadaan sehat-sehat saja, dan kita semoga diberikan kemudahan dalam rezekinya, dalam kita mencari nafkah, dalam kita beraktivitas bekerja setiap hari dimanapun kita berada. Amin. Hari ini aku akan membahas cerita tentang Mat Saleh asal Kanada ya guys ya, yang mana awalnya sebelum ia datang ke Malaysia, ia merasa bahwa negara Malaysia itu sama dengan negara-negara berkembang lainnya di Asia Tenggara atau di belahan dunia manapun ya guys ya. Itu disejajarkan dengan negara-negara berkembang dengan negara Malaysia ya guys ya. Namun alangkah terkejutnya ia ketika datang ke negara Malaysia. Bagaimana ekspresi dan apa yang ia lihat, apa yang ia rasakan, situasi apa yang membuat ia berbeda 180 derajat dari apa yang ia pikirkan sebelumnya. Baik, sebelum kita ke video ini, alangkah baiknya bagi Anda yang belum support, silahkan kalian subscribe terlebih dahulu dan aktifkan notifikasi agar tidak ketinggalan update video terbaru dari channel ini. Langsung saja kita mereaksinya tanpa banyak basa-basi dalam hitungan mundur 3, 2, 1. All
the countries I've been to in the world, Malaysia has surprised me the most. I had no idea it was this modern, had this much greenery, and the people were amazing. In this video, I'm going to share my thoughts on Malaysia after living here for a month, and whether this is a place I could see myself living long term. Before we get started, I want to be clear, this is just my personal experience. Of course, you cannot generalize an entire country based off one person that barely discovered maybe 1% of this country. So keep that in mind. Before coming here, I had no idea what to expect of Malaysia. I had not watched any videos. I didn't want to get an idea what it was before coming here because I like to go into something brand new, experience everything for the first time. And I was really surprised by the heat. So it's very humid here. I'm sweating all the time. But that being said, Cameron Highlands, which I highlighted in one of my videos, is a great place if you want cooler weather. So I didn't realize how green this whole place was. So not only is it modern, it's also green. Speaking of modern, before coming here, I thought maybe Malaysia was a developing country. I had very little information about it because I kind of associated with like other Southeast Asian countries, but I was completely blown away. I was surprised how modern, especially KL, Kuala Lumpur, the capital city was. Skyscrapers everywhere, the modern infrastructure, everything from gardens that are in the middle of the city to like the MRT, LRT, even taxis MRT, and LRT. Cars. Many people were just
Oke, kita post ini guys, maaf kita post dulu. Dan guys, tadi ia mengatakan bahwa sebelum ia datang ke Malaysia, ia tidak mendapatkan informasi banyak tentang negara itu ya guys ya. Yang mana ia hanya tahu bahwa negara Malaysia itu hanya negara berkembang, itu saja. Namun ia di sini memuji tentang bagaimana infrastruktur dan juga fasilitas yang dan juga pelayanan yang didapat oleh dia ketika berada di negara Malaysia guys ya. Dia sangat kagum, sangat dibuat terkejut dengan pemandangan dan apa yang ia dapatkan di negara tersebut. Oke, kita lanjutkan lagi. Kita akan melihat bagaimana lanjutan video ini berikutnya. Kita play.
Motorcycles, so that just shows you maybe the income of the average person. So I was really surprised how modern it was, and that was really good because a person that wants to stay and travel on a short period of time, they can access things very easily. That was very new to me. And the other thing is the visa situation. If you're coming here, be sure that you have an idea how long your visa is good for. If you cannot stay here past, let's say, a month like myself, be sure you have a plan. So it really depends if you're coming here on just a tourist visa, if you're staying here a couple weeks,
or if this is a place you want to retire. And that's the other thing. This is probably one of the places I would consider myself retiring, because everything is to my standards when it comes to, Western standards. A nice apartment,
Iya, standar sebagai orang barat ya.
accommodations, transportation, and everything.
AC yang
Everything is great
bagus,
here.
internet,
Speaking of
transportasi.
that, cost of living here surprised me as
Iya,
well.
betul.
Although it's modern and it provides you with a lot of the necessities that you need here, the cost of living in comparison to Canada, the US, anywhere in Europe is much cheaper. So consider that if you're coming here, that you can live very comfortably for about half or 1/3 of what you're paying back home. So that was really good to see, because of course, as much as we like to not admit sometimes, money runs the world. So keep that in mind. Cost of living here is incredible, especially when you consider how cheap transportation
Luar
is, taking a
biasa hidup
Grab
di
or a
Malaysia,
taxi,
guys.
an Uber somewhere, staying in an apartment if you're renting long term. Even Airbnbs, you can find some great
Sangat
accommodations
terjangkau,
for a
ya.
cheap price. And it's not just the cost, it's the quality that you get with the money that you pay. Many countries that I've visited, sometimes they are cheap, but sometimes you don't get the quality. Like maybe the room is not built to your liking, maybe the shower, the water's not strong enough, maybe the air conditioner doesn't work properly, or the kitchen doesn't work properly, maybe the electricity goes out once in a while. But in Malaysia, I didn't have any of those issues, to be honest, so I had a great time. That brings us to the next thing, people. The people of Malaysia have been one of my favorites so far. When I first got here, people were being friendly, giving me tips and advice, and I was kind of like hesitant because I thought they wanted
ada
something
ular
from me,
juga, guys, ya.
very similar to other countries, maybe some money, a handout, or doing something like quid pro quo. So that was very surprising. Even the taxi drivers, I think some of the worst people, I hate to say it that way, but when I travel, some of the people that stress me out the most are the taxi drivers. But here in Kuala Lumpur, all of the taxi drivers were fantastic, always giving tips, advice, letting us know where to go, showing us places to eat, and incredible things like that. Speaking of eating, let's go
Sekali
back
lagi
to
kita
the
post
food a
guys,
little bit.
kita post. Dan di sini ia juga memuji bagaimana transportasi yang ada di Malaysia, serta dia menaiki taksi online guys ya. Dan dia juga mendapatkan saran-saran dari supir taksi itu ya, bagaimana kita lihat pelayanan yang diberikan di negara Malaysia guys ya. Jadi kemana-mana kita tidak susah, tidak dibikin pusing dengan alamat yang kita tuju guys ya, karena kita dapat bertanya kepada siapa saja termasuk taksi yang kita naiki guys. The best. Kita play.
Malaysian food has been one of my favorites so far. I know I keep saying this, but that's 100% true, because the mixture of like Indian food and some other like Southeast Asian flavors, but it's their own unique type of way, like nasi kandar or nasi lemak. They have these amazing flavors, and not only that, it's a variety of things you can get on top of it, on top of the rice. And every store is a little bit different, so you never get the same flavor. And that brings us back to the cost of living. Those items are very cheap. You can get them anywhere you go. Another thing that surprised me was the diversity here in Malaysia. I had no idea that Malaysia was so diverse, because I've seen a mixture of different kinds of people. So not only physically does everybody seem diverse, multicultural, but from the foods that they eat, from the temples they worship at, the mosques, everything seems to be like a mishmash of all kinds of things, all kinds of people, all kinds of food. Reminds me a lot about Toronto back home in Canada, where that's where I live, and everybody seems to be from all around the world. So it's really nice to get that feeling of inclusion and people not really discriminating. Once again, from my experience, I don't know what really goes on here. So that was really cool to see that it was so diverse in all aspects of life. And that diversity leads to having more options. When you have more options, you get to enjoy yourself a lot more, right? Because you can pick and choose what you want to eat, where you want to stay, who you want to spend time with. And of course, there's all kinds of things like meetups, and you can meet language exchange people through our network. Unfortunately, my visa is about to come to an end, and I cannot stay in Malaysia long term. If I do want to be here, I either have to extend it or leave the country and come back. So that's something I have to consider. With that being said, this is a place that someone can definitely spend a year or longer exploring thoroughly. Like myself, I didn't go to any proper beaches. I know many people said to go check out the east side of Malaysia. There's beautiful beaches down there. If you're into like that kind of stuff, the island vibe, the beach vibe, if you want to see some beautiful waters and waves and beaches. It feels like it's not just me. When I did the street interviews with other tourists and foreigners in Malaysia, many people seem to have similar feelings about what I did, what I have here about Malaysia. So it's really nice to see that people are all feeling the same way. I really can't find anyone that has a problem with anything in Malaysia. I can't think of something really that bothers me about here. Most countries I go to, there usually is one or two things that annoy me about Malaysia. I can't really put my finger on something aside from the heat, but that doesn't even count, because I know it's a tropical country. Speaking of tropical country, Malaysia is green all around. You can find greenery everywhere, not just in the jungles or the parks or the gardens and all those kinds of things. Malaysia is green all around. It is really tropical. You do feel like you're in the middle of a jungle sometimes, which is a good thing if you want to get away from the city life, right? So keep that in mind as well. Usually before going to a country, I have an idea of what to expect, but Malaysia has surprised me the most from all the places I've traveled to. I would love to know if you've been here before. Leave your comments down below. Let me know if you've been to Malaysia. If you haven't, is this the type of place you want to visit? Anything you want to share? If you take your time to write it, I take your time to respond. With that being said, I think, guys, this is a place that I must come back to explore properly, to really enjoy this place as it should be, and to give it proper justice. Come here with a better plan, a bigger plan, and try to find and see some beautiful places around Malaysia. I can't really say much more about Malaysia except for that this is a place I can see myself living long term. Many countries it's great to just visit, but this country seems to have everything you need to have a high standard of living at a very low cost, because right now inflation is going through the roof in many countries. Cost of living is rising, especially in Canada. That is the reason why I no longer live there, and I've been traveling full-time for the past 3 years now. So guys, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you, and if there's a place that I should visit for sure in Malaysia on my next trip, because I feel like I need to explore it more. If you found this video informative, entertaining, or just want to support myself, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be continuing to travel to different countries around the world, and I'd love to have you guys on board to share that experience with you guys. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Oke guys, ya demikian tadi video yang baru kita reaksi tentang ini ya, Saleh Kanada yang pengalamannya tentang ia berada di negara jiran Malaysia. Jadi selama 1 bulan penuh di Malaysia, ia telah menuju Cameron Highland, dan di sana udara lebih sejuk dan pandangan juga luas ya guys ya, dengan hijau dedaunan di sana. Dan selama sebulan itu tentu merasa banyak sekali menemukan hal-hal baru, situasi baru selain wisata. Di sana Saleh juga menyatakan bahwa hidup di Malaysia itu enak, gaya hidup tinggi namun biaya hidupnya rendah ya guys ya. Dimana lagi kita akan menemukan hal seperti itu ya, yang biasanya ditemukan di negara-negara dengan gaya hidup yang tinggi. Pasti biaya hidup juga tinggi guys, karena itu pasti saling beriringan ya guys ya. Namun hal itu tidak ditemukan di Malaysia, di mana orang di sana dengan gaya hidup yang tinggi namun biaya hidupnya sangat rendah ya guys. Memang kalau aku berpikir ya guys ya, mohon maaf kalau aku salah karena ini hanya pikiran aku dan pendapat saja ya guys ya, tentang sistem kelola ya, atau penetapan harga di Malaysia itu sangat efektif guys ya, dan juga subsidi ya, ini paling penting ya, subsidi yang diberikan oleh kerajaan memang sangat tepat sasaran ya guys ya. Jadi semua harga-harga barang makanan termasuk itu beras, minyak dan lain-lain itu disubsidi oleh pemerintah ya. Jadi masyarakat dapat membeli barang-barang tersebut dengan harga yang sangat murah. Nah, di situ ya guys ya kaitannya gaya hidup yang tinggi namun biaya hidup yang rendah ya guys ya. Dan apabila itu terjadi di sebuah negara ya guys ya, dapat dipastikan bahwa negara itu telah masuk ke dalam kategori masyarakatnya makmur. Sungguh enaknya hidup di negara itu dan dapat menikmati fasilitas yang diberikan oleh pihak kerajaan Malaysia. Baiklah, demikian tadi video aku. Semoga Anda semua terhibur dengan video ini, dan aku mohon undur diri. Mohon maaf atas segala kesalahan dan kekurangan. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.